Let's get into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast real quick for everybody who subscribed and is subscribing right now. Thank you so much to the 121,000 of you. Thank you to YouTube as well for that wonderful play button. I know you didn't have to give it to me, but you did. Now, I'm going to ask a question to the audience, guys. Do you think Joe Rogan is co-opted by a three-letter agency? Do you think he is the dreaded term controlled opposition? Do you think he is a disinformation agent? There's a lot of people that say yes to all those things that I just said. The reason is because of a clip that he made years ago, and I'm going to show you that clip. But I'm also going to show you a new one from the Andrew Schultz interview, where he says just that if he's shown some UFO wreckage or some aircrafts or some ships or some technology, he'll do whatever they say. Oh gosh, he's opened up a whole bunch of mess saying that type of stuff. I'm going to show you the clip, then I'm going to show you Bob Lazar talking about a gravity generator, and then I'm going to show you a clip from Katt Williams that actually touches on this whole thing of controlled opposition. He brings it up in an interview he did a little while ago. So let's get into that. Don't forget about the new channel that I've started, Coach Colin Media. We got a whole bunch of videos there. That channel is where I break away from the Rogan content, just start touching on culture, society, politics, all that good stuff. Subscribe now. Let's get into the Rogan clip.
You know, and we first started doing live shows indoors in November of 2020, and it felt so wrong. It's like, what are we doing? I did one weekend out here in July of 2020, and I decided after it that I couldn't do it anymore. I didn't get sick, but I was like, but what if I did? And what if I gave it to someone? And what if that person died? Like, what if I gave it to a guest?
You felt the responsibility.
I was terrified.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I would never forgive myself. If I had some wonderful, sweet scientist as a guest and I gave that person COVID and they wound up dying because I was so selfish that I had to go on the road and do stand-up.
This is the empathy thing.
Yeah, so I was like, I can't do that.
You're not a sociopath.
Well, it's also just...
You're not good for the CIA, Joe.
Terrible for the CIA. I'll be terrible. I'll be good if you get me in that UFO program, though. I'll keep my mouth shut. Promise.
Wait, what is this UFO?
Get me in the UFO. Show me what you got. Show me what you got. I won't tell anybody.
Do you think they got something?
I'll be a disinformation agent for you. I will,
you just want to know.
I will say whatever you need.
Now, here's the question.
Hold on.
What if they say to you, Joe, you can take the UFO for a spin, but don't floor it. You can bunt in the UFO.
I would listen because I don't want to turn to jelly. If you're going faster than your body can tolerate.
What if they said there's no way that you can die in this machine? It's built in a way where you cannot die, but we're asking you to bunt.
I would bunt. You'd have to bunt. You have to bunt because you're going to have to come back to the ground. You're going to have to land that thing. They're going to kill you.
All right, fair enough.
They're going to fucking put you on an airplane with one of fucking Putin's boys. And you're going to get blown up over the Adriatic Sea. Listen, man, no. Yeah. You got to look. If they get you in the UFO, first of all, I wouldn't ask to pilot it. I just like
you just want to
take it for a spin.
Show me what
the fuck this thing does. Where did it come from? And then I say, okay, so what do I tell them? China? I'll tell them China. It's fucking Chinese, man.
So that's
Chinese
the last
are super
thing.
advanced.
That's the last thing for you? It's UFO? It's if once you feel that?
Well, it would suck to go to your grave and not know. Because it seems like something for... It's not what I thought when I was young. When I was young, I thought UFOs are probably real, but a lot of these stories are bullshit, and I don't even know if UFOs actually are real, or if people are just liars, or if it's something that we want to believe because of science fiction,
right.
Orson Welles, and all that stuff. But now I don't think that anymore. Now I think, because of talking to guys, well, you and I went to dinner with Bob Lazar before he did the podcast, which was, how fascinating was that?
I always tell people, I believe he believes it.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that it exists, but I don't think he's a liar.
I don't think he's a liar either, but I don't know, because some people are really good at that shit.
Again, I'm just going off of like...
the vibe.
Just the vibe that I got.
Yeah, but the vibe is hard because
you
want
like he didn't
to
want to
believe.
Be there, Joe. Like, I remember at the dinner, he's like, listen, I'm not here to prove it. I don't even need to do it. I don't like doing this. It hurts my life. He said all maybe the right things, but he didn't come across as so charismatic. Like, usually people who are really good at lying are very charismatic.
Also, they lie about other stuff, too.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know enough about him to say, but, like, he didn't have the charisma of someone that could, like, trick and manipulate me. He came across as pretty authentic and almost kind of rattled by the whole experience. Like, it almost felt traumatic when he was talking about it. It did.
Well, he told us something, too, that made a lot more sense, because one of the things that he's criticized about is his education background. He said he went to MIT. But they said there's no record of him at MIT. He's like, yeah, because there wasn't a record of me at MIT because I was involved in a program that you can't really say. We can't say what he was involved in. But when you hear what they're involved, what they were actually working on, you go, oh, yeah, well, you're not even supposed to do that. So I would imagine that if you're going to get educated in that, it's not important that you get a degree that shows that you learned it from these people.
Yeah.
What's important is you get the information that you need in order to implement this plan,
Yeah.
which was wild. And you hear that. But the thing about it is, the other things they try to disprove him on, he has shown that it was accurate. One of them, that he worked at Los Alamos Labs.
Right.
So they said that he never worked there. But he did work there.
Yeah.
He did work there. He's on the employee roster.
Yeah.
So not only that, he had an intimate knowledge of the building.
Right.
When George Knapp went with him to Los Alamos Labs, he knew where everything was. He knew the security guards. He knew the system.
Who's George Knapp?
George Knapp is an investigative reporter that broke the story in 1989.
Got it.
And he's been on it ever since. And he also does a podcast with Jeremy Corbell.
Yeah, I know
that's
Jeremy.
all about
Yeah.
this phenomenon. And George Knapp is one of the best journalists that's ever covered it, because he's like covered it from the beginning, and he will tell you what he knows and what he doesn't know, and he's not a bullshitter in any way, shape, or form. He's a hard-nosed, facts-based journalist who was the first guy to talk to Lazar. And Lazar talked to him because he thought they were going to kill him, because he had started bringing people to watch the test flights, because he got fired, he got released. And the reason why he got released is when you're on top secret clearance, when you're working for the government and they fly you to Area 51 and you're doing fucking work on spaceships, you're not allowed to tell anybody, including your wife.
Yeah.
So he get a phone call like 11 p.m. I got to go to work, and he would leave, and the wife was like, "This motherfucker's cheating on me." So she starts having an affair. Exactly. So she starts having an affair, and all their phones are tapped, of course. But she doesn't know their phones are tapped because she doesn't know what he's doing.
Why would she?
Because he can't tell her what he's doing. So she starts fucking this guy, and then they're worried that he's going to be in a situation of emotional turmoil because his wife's having an effect. So they don't share the information with him. They just release him. He's now fired. So he's going back to his friends like, I'm working on fucking UFOs. They have real UFOs. They test them every Wednesday. So he takes people out to Area 51, to an area that's restricted now. But back then, before the Obama administration came along, in the Obama administration, they expand the boundaries of Area 51. It was the first time they admitted Area 51 even existed. So they had to expand it because too many people were getting close enough to film things. So these guys went out there and they filmed these fucking flying saucers flying around. And
Is there video of this?
There's videos of the saucers. There's videos of these things moving around in the desert. See if you can find them. There's grainy Area 51 footage. So they're doing these things where these vehicles are operating in a way conventional vehicles in 1989 were absolutely incapable of doing, as far as our understanding of it. He gets arrested. They catch him. What are you doing? And he says, he just spills the beans. I got fired. I wanted to let people know that this is real. Now his life's in danger. Now he's like, they're going to fucking kill me. So he contacts George Knapp, and he's like, I think that if I just go public with this,
I'll be too famous to be killed.
Right. So initially he does it with his face hidden. So the initial interviews he does with his face hidden. He's like silhouetted. And then he decides, I have to go public with all this. So he does these interviews. He's explaining everything. He draws diagrams. He explains this element that was only theoretical at that point. It was element 115. They didn't find it in proof of it until they used a particle collider in like the 2000s. I want to say
Switzerland or whatever.
Yeah, I want to say it was like 2013-ish.
Okay.
Somewhere. So this is 1989.
Wow.
This is Bob Lazar in 1989.
Wow.
And this is him explaining all of the different stuff that he had to do there, where it is. And by the way, at this point in time, this was all just legend. No one knew if Area 51 was real. And they had these hangars. So these are these crafts that he brought people out to film. He's like, these things...
Wow.
They move silently. They move with a gravity propulsion system that's operating off of this element 115. And this element 115, when hit with radioactive waves, it becomes this thing that can manipulate gravity with this generator that is in the center of these ships. They don't have any controls. Everything is controlled like the human being the alien creature interfaces with this machine biologically or through some sort of
Neuralink.
They might not even be human at that point in time. They might be like what we're going to be, some sort of a combination of artificial intelligence and biology, or strictly artificial intelligence at this point. And these things interact with this craft, and that's how it moves. There's no like buttons you switch like Alien and fucking joysticks like the Millennium Falcon. There's none of that shit. It's all done with the creature. So he gets in this thing. First of all, he realizes there's no seams. It doesn't make any sense. Well, now we know what 3D printing is. Now you know we can make a thing with no seams. But back then, they don't know what the fuck it is. And he realized like right away, like, this is not ours. When he first saw it, he thought, oh, now I know what all this UFO bullshit is about. We have them. It's ours. We're working on this. That makes sense. And they actually had an American flag sticker on one of them. They put an American flag sticker on one of the UFOs.
Which is smart.
Which is fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
You want
like,
other people to think that's ours? Yeah.
Yeah. But then he gets in it and he realizes it's designed for something that's 3 feet tall. There's no seams. There's no controls. And it has this reactor in the center of it that defies anything we have any current understanding of. In terms of like what we believe is possible for propulsion systems, this is something completely alien, and it involves a stable element that is only theoretical at this point. They don't even know it exists, and they have a triangle, like a form of this stuff that's in the center of this. Like, see if you could find the video where he's describing the element, the gravity generator.
But the element, that triangle thing you're talking about, is that the engine, or is that essentially the gasoline? That's the fuel.
That's the fuel.
Got it.
This thing, when bombarded with radiation, produces this. I'm obviously butchering this, but produces this. See how he explains it. Put the headphones on.
Powering the gravity amplifier.
Put the headphones on, ladies and gentlemen. I have the actual clip. You know, sometimes they just show it really small or not at all. I just want you guys to see the actual clip. So here's him talking about the gravity generator.
Powering the gravity amplifiers. Gravity amplifiers output goes into the gravity emitters at the bottom, and the resulting gravity beam or anti-gravity wave can be pretty much put anywhere you want it to. And I had access and was permitted to view and look at the operation of this main level with the gravity amplifiers and the level below, the gravity emitters. People call these large black rectangular areas on the top portholes. I believe they were some planar sensor array that just took in information from the surrounding area, whether it be patterns of stars or what have you.
So that's what he has to say about that whole gravity generator thing. Very interesting. And you know what? Honestly, when it comes to Bob Lazar, I don't know about you. I mean, we can all just make judgments, but I can't tell with him. Here's what I'll say. You know David Grush, the guy that came out and it was all this big, like he was in front of the, I think Congress. I think he was obviously on Joe Rogan's podcast, Newsmax, all these interviews that this guy did constantly. He was on a podcast tour, like he was selling a book or something. It was ridiculous. I myself had always said, first time I heard him talk, something seems off about the guy. Guy doesn't seem like he's saying anything that you couldn't Google or find out yourself. He's not bringing us any new information. Said that he's a whistleblower, but still wants to respect the institution that he's whistleblowing on and wants to follow their rules, even though he's a whistleblower. Nothing made sense about that guy. He seemed like a clear distraction to me. Partly because I said it at the time, but look at it now. Do you see him? Is he still doing interviews? He just came like a big distraction and then disappeared. Bob Lazar, on the other hand, Bob Lazar doesn't really want to be out in the open. He was kind of coaxed out into the open from people who wanted the story told and wanted some monetary value out of it and things like that. So the thing about Bob Lazar is it's 89? It's 30. I'm almost 40, for God's sake. Jeez. I hate thinking about that. So it's almost 40 years later. He's still telling the same story. Nothing's changed. Here's the thing. Grush barely even made sense with the things he was saying. Barely even made sense. Bob Lazar, on the other hand, as time goes on, Neuralink pops up, and all of a sudden a ship that has no controls or anything like that makes perfect sense. Because you'd be able to control it just via Neuralink. If you were... I don't even have to say an advanced civilization. Right now, there is a human being who has Neuralink, and he's using a mouse. What's to say that they couldn't hook that up and have him control a drone? What's to say that they couldn't put him inside of a ship or a big drone, and he controls that drone with his mind? That can happen right now. There's people controlling video games with their minds because all they have to do is wear this thing that like reads their signatures. So there's a bunch of stuff going on. So now that makes sense. You know, the gravity generator. Right now, it doesn't fully make sense. But when you hear somebody explain a gravity generator, it kind of makes sense. You're kind of like, okay, I could see that. Pulls in all that, hit it with radiation. It starts radiating some kind of energy, and then that energy powers the thing, and then you actually make the thing move. Okay. Like you can kind of wrap your head around that. When he first said it, you couldn't wrap your head around it. In the 80s, that didn't make any sense. Now it makes sense. So it's almost like, yeah, he was saying things that were very truthful. And the thing is, if they did have that ship and they did have that element, obviously they're going to work it into our technology through people like Elon Musk, through people who are these tech giants. They're going to bring it to us, as they always do, decades later, but eventually it does actually touch down to us. So for that reason, I believe him. Now, when it comes to George Knapp, he said George Knapp is a fact-based journalist. That's not true. George Knapp, a lot of the time, will be like, this is what I was told. This is what I was told. I think he's a straight-up guy, but I don't trust the fact that he hangs out with Jeremy Corbyn. I don't trust Jeremy Corbyn. He was associated with Grush. I think Jeremy Corbyn has a huge incentive to not find out if UFOs are real, to not find ships or crafts or anything like that. I think he has the same incentive in that sense, the way that people in California who are employed on working on the homeless crisis have an incentive to not solve homelessness. You know what I mean? I just think he has that incentive, so I don't really trust that guy. Now, Andrew Schultz saying the very odd sentence of, I believe he believes, but that doesn't mean that it exists. What? You basically just called him a liar in the most polite, odd way possible. So you believe that he believes, and what he believes probably doesn't exist? Like, that doesn't mean that what he believes exists? I don't know what you're trying to say there. I myself believe Bob Lazar. Now, let's just get back to the whole thing of what Joe Rogan said, being a disinformation agent, that he would just say, is it China? He would say all these things. Do you think that already happened? And now that's what all this is in the podcast. Because here's the thing. I've noticed, and I've made many videos about it, he pushes AI really hard. Really, he'll be in front of an expert who's like, this is not going to happen. And he's like, yeah, I don't think so. I think you're just being optimistic. I think we're going to merge. It's like, but I'm the expert. You have experts on. I'm telling you what we're doing. We're trying to make things more humane. Tristan Harris, when you had Tristan Harris on, Tristan was like trying to tell him, like, no, we're trying to do things more humanely and we're not going to allow that to happen. Invasions of privacy. He's like, yeah, I just don't think so. Ray Kurzweil, say what you want about him, but even he was like, we're not going to be able to read each other's minds. He's a futurist. He's been a futurist for decades. Joe's like, nah, I think we are going to be able to read each other's minds. I don't know. There's just either he knows something or he's pushing something for some reason. Now, here's the clip of what made people feel like Joe definitely. This is the clip that makes people think he sold his soul even. Like, I've had conversations in the comment section. They're like, he sold his soul. He said he lied to his mother. End of story. I'm like, nah, that's not really how it works. You should look into how selling your soul works. You don't just lie to your mom and that's it. Although lying to your mom is very bad. Don't lie to your mom. Oh my gosh. Here's the thing though. Here's the thing that I want to say to you guys. So many people say that and they're like, oh yeah, for sure. Co-opted. He switched his stance on the moon landing. End of story. I don't need to see anything else. I often say like, whoa, the way he treats Eddie Bravo's a little weird. Maybe Eddie's on to something. Why is Eddie always getting dismissed? Here's my question. What would you do? What would you do? Let's say they did approach him. Let's say that did happen. What would you do? Let's say they approached you. You got the podcast. You got the JRE. What are you going to do? Are you going to be like, nah, don't show me because I'm going to tell everybody? Is that what you're going to do? Or are you going to be like, is there money involved? What are you going to do? They say there's a ship. We can take you on a ride. Can take you on a ride. We'll show you Biden's real face. We'll take his mask off in front of you. You want to see a lizard person? What would you do if they offered you all that? Would you be that disinformation agent, or would you just be like, no, I'm all about that truth? I don't know. A lot of people are in the comments are going to be like, I would tell, but I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a big thing. If you could know about what's going on with space, that's a huge thing to know. So a lot of people will say, oh no, not me. I will be truthful. I can't be bought. I understand that 100%. If it was me, I have to be honest, I don't care enough. I don't care enough to be like, I'm now going to be a disinformation agent, because I just have a mindset of how deep that can go and how much they'll ask me to say things and how ridiculous I'll sound. So I wouldn't do that. I couldn't. Because I'd just be like, oh, then they're going to tap me all the time. It's like, do I get a spaceship? Your tune might change if you get a spaceship. I get a spaceship and you can tell me where there's another planet and I get to go back and forth to have fun. You could consider that. But like, well, what are you going to do? You're going to find out that there's aliens. It's pretty clear that there are. The universe is gigantic. Obviously, there's something else out there. We're seeing them constantly. Like, how close do you have to get? So I would say no. I don't know about you. But that is one of the reasons why so many people look at Joe and be like, he's controlled opposition. And I was going to tell you why I hate the term controlled opposition. People who use the term controlled opposition are the same people who use the term conspiracy theorists. Both of those terms are dismissive terms. Now, some people could be correct when you call someone a conspiracy theorist. You could be right. It could just be a conspiracy that they're lost in. You could be right about controlled opposition. But when people use those terms, it's never, shouldn't say never. I have not seen it done in good faith yet. I've always seen it used as a way to dismiss somebody. I don't like them. I don't like the narrative that they're pushing. They're controlled opposition. I don't like them. I don't like the narrative that they're pushing. They're a conspiracy theorist. You see it all the time. I've never seen it actually labeled on somebody properly. It's always used as a smear. So I don't like that term. When people use that, I'm like, you're just as bad as anybody else. I forgot one clip here, guys. If you're still with me, thank you very much, Katt Williams. Now, here's the thing. When you hear somebody talk about being a disinformation agent, possibly, jokingly, of course, don't forget that Joe was saying it jokingly, Katt Williams said something that rang very true, because I always fall under the bias of, I believe Joe. I believe Joe is not. I've seen him do too much during the pandemic. During the pandemic, I've seen him bring on people of opposite thought processes. I've learned so much from watching his podcast. He rarely doesn't bring people on to discuss wild, crazy ideas, theories, procedures. So for me, I'm like, if he was, why would he bring all these people on? Why would he do what he did in 2020? What he did in 2020 is not what you do. You do what Stephen Colbert did, and you dance around with a bunch of people singing about different strains of things. That's what you do if you're one of those people. That's my mindset. But here's what Katt Williams said.
Things for his people. That's why, you know what the number one job of somebody that sold their soul in Hollywood is?
What?
Is to act like it didn't happen. They all do the same job. Why do you think Gary Owen can't cross over and he already white and been in comedy for 25 years? If what I say ain't the case. It's a cabal. It's a consortium. They rock with who they rock with and they don't with who they don't. But I'm not scared of being the competition any more than you were when you lined up across from a superior team. Yeah, on paper, they're a better team.
Right.
They have all the assets and resources and we don't. But let us get on the line, boy, and see if that factors in. I guarantee you it won't.
Wow.
Imagine you're doing an interview and Katt Williams stands up like that and looks you right in the face. Can you imagine? You'd be like, this interview is going to get 100 million views. That'd be the first thing that comes to your mind. I'm going to make so much money from this interview. Oh my God. He's standing up. Is he drunk? But he wasn't. Well, he was drinking, but what he said was very true. That's the number one job. Is that no matter what, it's to make it seem like it didn't happen. It's to make it seem like you could never be co-opted. It's to make it seem like you could never be turned. You could never be bought. You never have been bought. Your soul's never been sold. That is the main objective once it happens. So then from there, it's like, can you tell who is what and what is what at all? Is it everybody? Or is it just some people? Or is it just the people you don't like? You know? I've come to the determination that possibly everyone I look up to in comedy actually has been, sold off, co-opted, whatever you want to call it. I have that mindset where I'm like, maybe it's everybody. Maybe it's just everybody. I don't know. I feel like it's not Katt Williams, He's become my new number one. But who knows? Who knows? And how far do you want to take this train of thought where everybody is possibly co-opted? Then who do you trust? You know? And then does it become anytime somebody achieves major success, that's when they become co-opted? You know? Do they always have to be this indie band? As soon as they go mainstream, all of a sudden that's when their time's up? I don't know, but I just found it very interesting that Joe Rogan was like, I will be a disinformation agent. I feel like, here's the thing. He's not a truther, really, right? He's not an independent journalist. Because when you are those things, you can't let those words come out of your mouth. You can't be saying that. You know what I mean? It was just a little funny thing. Again, hit that subscribe button on this channel. And I got another channel where we break away from the Rogan content. And I'm so glad that I did it, because now I get to talk about aliens again, which I love to do. Let me know what you think about Joe. Let me know what you think about Bob Lazar. And let me know what you think about what Katt Williams said. Other than that, I'm out.